And the topic I've been given today to debate is the policy of police misconduct and substantially increasing regulations, specifically the 2018 LD resolution. The United States federal government should substantially increase the regulation of state and or local police misconduct in the United States. First, I want to define some terms. Regulation is a rule or directive made and maintained by an authority, specifically the government in this case. Police misconduct, an illegal or inappropriate conduct taken by police officers in connection with their authoritative duties. The plan that I am endorsing is to reform civil forfeiture, specifically House Resolution 1843, restraining excessive seizures of property through the Exploitation of Civil Asset Forfeiture Tools Act. It was introduced on March 30th, 2017. It was passed in the House September 5th, 2017. It still has the Senate to go through. And so, if the advantages of reforming civil forfeiture outweigh the disadvantages and the time and resources that might be saved, then my argument should win. The first advantage of reforming civil forfeiture is it'll decrease unwarranted seizures. One of the biggest harms of civil forfeiture is that civilians' possessions are confiscated by officers and aren't returned. The U.S. Department of Justice reported that over $6 million in cash alone were seized in Los Angeles in 2017. And for some people, this can ruin their lives. Specifically, the case of Mandrell Stewart, who operates a barbecue chicken restaurant in Staunton, Virginia. He and his girlfriend were on a date driving the Interstate 66. Then he got pulled over for his window tint being too dark. The traffic stop on that balmy afternoon in August 2012 was the beginning of a dizzying encounter that would leave Stewart shaken and wondering whether he had been singled out because he was black and had a police record. Over the next 2 hours, he would be detained without charges, handcuffed, and taken to a nearby police station, stripped of $17,550 in cash, earned through a small barbecue restaurant. He was going to use the money that night for supplies and equipment. That was a report in the Washington Post back in 2014. And so civil forfeiture, it allows the police to keep and sell any property that they think might be involved in the crime. So you don't even, if your property is being seized, you don't even need to be convicted of a crime or arrested. They can just take your cash, cars, real estate, or anything, and it could be permanently taken away by the government. Of course, it is possible to get it back, but you need to hire a lawyer, and after attorney fees, it's really not very economical, and you're only keeping a portion of the money that they probably seized in the first place. And someone who knows this better than anyone is Matt Lee of Clare, Michigan. He was going to California with $2,500 in cash when he was pulled over by police in Nevada, seized almost all of the cash under the suspicion that it was a drug run. And if you don't need to go to California to buy drugs. So the Restraining Excessive Seizures of Property through the Exploitation of Civil Asset Forfeiture Tools Act forces the IRS to provide evidence that the seized property is actually linked to a crime. So, one, the IRS has to make a good effort to find all owners of the property and to notify the owners of the post-seizure hearing rights established by this bill. They may apply to the court for a 30-day extension, but that's only in case of national security or personal safety threats. And so what this will cause is that people will stop randomly losing money, because by having to go through much more scrutiny to find, the police departments will be forced to confiscate only money and property that they know are linked to crime. The seizure of this property is not legal otherwise. The second advantage of reforming civil forfeiture is that it improves trust and relationships between citizens and the police. the biggest problems is that we're kind of in a world where citizens don't quite trust the police, or they're scared of the police, and civil forfeiture really can magnify those sentiments. And so there's a rift between the public and law enforcement. So if you're just driving on the highway, someone can pull you over for a minor misdemeanor, say not using your blinker or going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Instead of taking a traffic citation, they can search your car for any drug-related property and seize it, including money, large sums of money. The question of how much money are you traveling with has become all too common in traffic stops these days. And so citizens now have a subconscious apprehension of law enforcement officers. Many citizens have a fear of them rather than feeling safe around them, and that's dangerous for a modern society and democracy. There has to be trust in the government, especially with those who enforce the policies of the state. With civil forfeiture reform, public will gain more trust in the police. It'll make police stops easier and improve interactions between the police and the civilians. Hopefully, that will make police and civilians be more friendly towards each other, instead of having a huge discrepancy in just due to the authority case. So the public will gain more trust in the police, making police stops easier. Police officers' jobs will be easier. And so reforming civil forfeiture seems to be very, very advantageous in not screwing people over and in improving the relationships between citizens and police.